Hi, this is Matt from Skybow. This video is a how-to guide for everyone who is interested in building a collaboration platform to work with externals based on SharePoint and Microsoft Teams. First of all, the main goal is to create a project collaboration portal to work together with external people. So that's the overall goal. And I created a hub site where you can see all the projects, like a project list. So where you see all the projects from your company. And the best would be to combine it with Teams. So the Teams can be used as communication. So the channels, etc. Maybe some OneNote integration, but also just to handle everything around the project is done using Teams and channels in Teams. I will show you that later on. I also have the option to choose some different templates. Templates could theoretically be different team templates, but also different project templates. So in my use case, I have a project template set up, but you could set up multiple project templates to choose from when you create a new project. Then it would automatically invite external people. So while setting up the project, you can already enter email addresses and they will be invited and added to the new project site and to the team, of course, as well. Last but not least, the thing is, if you have multiple site collections or multiple project sites and you have certain things in those sites, in my example, it's tasks. I mean, it's a very common scenario. You can also imagine any other thing inside a project that you would like to have an aggregated view on this hub site, which means you would see all the tasks from all these project sites on the hub site. So that's the last part of the scenario. And of course, you can handle documents. The rest of the project itself is just a plain portal SharePoint site. I mean, with document libraries. I added a change request list, for example, and a task list. So, but how can we do that using Skybow? But first of all, let's jump into the demo. I will first show you how it will look like. So the final solution, how it will look like. And for that, I will jump into this browser here. So I have several things here. This one here, I'm logged in with a normal admin user who has access to this customer project hub site. This is a site where I have a couple of lists. So I have the main list is the customer project list. That's the one here. So if we go into that list, it's a normal SharePoint list. And if you create a new project, you can assign it to a customer, but that's just for structuring. Maybe you have different customers, and for each customer you have multiple projects. So you could choose the customer, then you choose the title of the project. I don't know, webinar prep. And that's what I did here. I have created in the background some teams. So I have one team per customer that I have created through the other list here. So this MS Teams list, I'll show you afterwards. And into those teams, each project will be created as a channel, so a private channel, because each private channel is having a SharePoint site in the background. And then I will take that channel for the communication, and into the SharePoint side I will deploy my template, because I have one site which I set up, the one I showed you before with the change requests and the tasks, etc., which is my template, and that's what I can choose here. I can set up multiple templates, and each template is specified in the template list I will show you afterwards. I can specify the owner, let's say myself, the admin. I can already provide some members like Adele, and I can add more. Brian, for example, Brian Johnson, and maybe one guest, which is my private spam address. Yeah. Theoretically, you can also set up shared channels. So we have the option to create shared channels as well. But here you would have to do some more things to set up in the background on your Enter ID between the two tenants. So if you have a large customer with a lot of projects, then it makes sense maybe to make shared channels and set that up. But it's not. This time I will go for a private channel, and yeah. Now once I hit save, a couple of things are happening. As you can see, the item is here. There's a status which says not started, so the provisioning is not started. The project URL is also not yet here. In the meantime, while this is running, I will show you the other lists, like the MS Teams. So here I set up a list where you create a new team directly from your SharePoint site. So you could give it a name like projects with North Wind, very old Microsoft demo company, create a new one, or if I have an existing one, I can switch, then I can enter my team URL and IDs directly here, but I will create a new one. Again, I'll take myself, and I don't add any other members, just to show you. This will create a team in the background using our M365 actions, and it will, once they are there, it will fill out these fields, the URL, the SharePoint site URL, etc. And then I can choose those teams. In Teams, it would look like this. So I would have one team per customer, and for each project, I will add this chat channel. And into that chat channel, I will then publish a template, and I will automatically add some tabs over here. For example, here, this one, it's a test I did up front. I automatically link the project site into Teams. Now you just the webinar prep channel just appeared because it was generated in the background. Now the tabs are still missing because it's still running. So the channel is created. Most probably the members are already here. Yeah, we see the members are already here. The guest is not yet here. That will be added later on. And now it starts to deploy the site. Here we will see it. Now it's in progress. It changed to in progress. The URLs are set. That's the URL of the channel. And one thing to show here is also that the template list. I have one list for the templates. And in my case, the template is coming from a SharePoint solution or a skybow solution. So therefore, I have to go into the backend where I basically have two solutions. So if I go to my solution here, I have one solution which is the hub itself, and I have one solution, another one where I have my template of the project. So the project template with the change request list, the task, whatever you like to have into that template. And this one, I just set up a normal SharePoint site, the one we just saw before with my homepage. Well, so this one. Once ready, when I like my template, I create a package here. And then I set up our API provisioning here. So I set up that API provisioning, and here you will see here we see that it's now running. So these 4 are already completed. This one is now running. So it's deploying this template into that URL, which is the private channel. And if we look into the other, because this is really just the template and the API access, but the whole thing is actually triggered from that solution here. So we see, for example, on this MS Teams list, there are some triggered actions in the background which are triggered when I add a new item. It will check if create new, that was this flag, if it's set. If it's set, then it creates the team here using the skybow M365 actions. I create the team, and then depending on if there are admins or members, I will add them to the team here. Once as an admin and the other time as a normal member. Now, as you can see, might be confusing because here I haven't trusted the connector. This solution I deployed into Microsoft test tenant, and there I trusted those connectors. So not in my development side. So I just trusted them on the other side. I will show you that afterwards. Just that you're not confused. Hey, it's not trusted. That's the case here. I didn't trust them on the skybow tenant yet. So here I create a new team, and here that's where the other part is. When you create a new project, I have 2 things. First thing is on adding. That's where I basically create everything. So first I get the team. Because I need it in the subsequent actions. Then I have to, that's actually specific to, because I'm using team, I have to add all the members to the actual team first, that I can use them in the private channels. So that's how Teams is working. So that you can add someone to a private channel, they need to be on the team. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. I add the owner to the team for this action here. I add members to the team. Then I create a channel here. I create a private channel, and the type is here. So private, shared. I mean, I could do a public as well, but that would create a separate SharePoint site for me. So this time I created a private channel. Then I'm also adding those members to the channel. I'm creating the OneNote. I add the OneNote as a tab to the channel so that it's available on the top. Then I set some properties on the customer project item. So the URL, the ID, etc., so that I can access it like here. So those were the fields here, so that I can access the project with one click from here. So that's when I set those properties once they are created. And last but not least, I start the deployment. That's the Skybow API deployment. There's an article on how you can do that. It's fully dynamic, as you can see. So the service ID that I'm passing here and the URL I'm adding here is all coming from the theme above. So what I created above, the channel and the theme, plus the API service ID I have stored on the template, on the project template item. So that was this one here. So here we have the templates, and here I specify this ID. That's the ID of the template, basically. So I could add more templates, a large project, small project, whatever. And depending on the project you choose, it takes the correct template when you do the deployment. That's how it's done here. It's also updating the status field in the project list. And that's it. It will just start the provisioning. And then once it's provisioned, once the project template is there, it will trigger another triggered action. Once updated, I have this one here. I will check for the status field. That's the one that will be changed when the provisioning is finished. And if it's completed, then I will invite the guest users. I will add them to the team. I will add the tabs for the project, etc. So last but not least, I will have the following in here. I would have the project with all my tabs to access the home page of the project here, the change request list directly, etc., etc. So I can add everything from within your template into as a tab into Teams, so to connect Teams and your SharePoint project even better. If we look at another user, I think it's that one here. So here I'm Adele. That was the one member. She was also added to the team and to the channel, and she is now also able to access the whole project. The posts here can be used for the collaboration, for the communication. So if you want to write about the project, you can use that channel where you would have the externals in there as well. So if we look at that one, for example, so we see that one has been added. This person can now access, on the one hand, the Teams channel to chat, but also the project side to go to the project and so on. And what's in addition, what's cool is there is, let me switch back to the admin. In my template, I've added, in the documents, I've added a specific folder called internal documents. So this internal documents is automatically provisioned, and it has specific permissions. So there is an internal project members group, and if you are not member of that group, you will not see that. So for example, Adele is not member of that group. So in that AI form integration, I will switch back to Adele here. She doesn't see that folder because she is not part of that group. And that's what you can configure in your template already. So if we look into the template, that's the one here. Here we have the documents. And I did two things. I added this folder. I gave this folder specific permissions. So here we go to advanced. I changed the permissions of that folder. I removed the members and the visitors. I just left the owner group with full control. And I added this SharePoint group called internal project members, and only those members will have access. And now, because of the skybow provisioning possibilities, in the packaging option, you can say package the items as part of the solution. So it will package that folder, including its permissions. That's the other flag here. So you can roll out a project with certain lists only available for certain groups, which means if I would go back here, not to Adele, to the other one, to the admin, I will go to my SharePoint site, open SharePoint. I'll go to my SharePoint site. I will check these permissions again from the AI project, and just a second. That was sorry, the other one. That was the one from the channel, the internal. This one. So this folder has now again the owner group, but the correct one, the one from here, and this internal members. If I go here and add, I'm not able to add. I'm not admin. Okay. Yeah, I would have to change on this one. I'm not an admin. But if I would add Adele to this group, she would then see this folder as well. So it's like an internal collaboration then, where you don't have all the external people in there. So one last thing on the project hub is if you want to do something like this one down here. You want to see all the tasks coming from those project sites. What I did here is I have taken a web part from our partner Lightning Tools. It's called the Conductor web part. It's actually an content aggregator web part. I placed that here, and as you can see, it's quite cool. We can roll up all the tasks from different sites. As you can see here, I have project with skybow AI integration. Down here, I have another one. I can jump to those tasks from here. So that was like the cockpit view on all the projects. I can add different views here, all the open tasks. I can also filter to my open tasks only. It's probably one left. Yes, I only assigned one to my admin account. And here I see all the ones which are open. So in progress, not started. So if I would say conduct stakeholder, I can click. I get to the actual task from the dashboard. In the subsite, it's a skybow form. I can say edit, make a change like in progress. Okay, it's completed 20%, save it. And if I go back, now refresh, this conduct stakeholder will appear up here. And now it's in progress. So, and if I would add new tasks to all the subsites, then you will see them all here. I've also added the link here to jump into the certain project site. So from here, you can directly jump into that project site where you will see the tasks. So on the start page, it's just how I set up the template. Here you see all the tasks. Yeah, and that's how you can have multiple projects in each one a separate site. Here I'm using Teams, the Teams site behind, but still having the option to aggregate. And yeah, this one is configured here. It's not part of Solution Studio, but it's just a web part. You can download it from the Lightning Tools website, and in the configuration you simply specify here you can have the different views, and on the view I simply specified data source, give me all the tasks, which columns you would like to show, and I also made a filter here, and you have a lot of options to configure how it should behave, like sticky header, that it should link to the item directly, and so on and so forth. So, theoretically, I could do a separate webinar just about this one here, because we are also reselling this web part. So if you are interested, you can also get this one via us as well. With this guidance, I hope you're now able to create your own collaboration platform. If you have further questions, put them in the comments below, and leave a thumb up if you like my video. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.